Welcome to Opposition Territory here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world, 12 years strong, actually about 12 and a half years strong at this point. We got a great Opposition Territory pod coming your way this week as we preview this upcoming Week 8 New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles game that's going to be taking place at Lincoln Financial Field this Sunday. We've got a great guest, and we've had him on before, been a little while. I've been on his podcast, Valentine's Views, over at bigblueview.com. He's our good friend, Ed Valentine. Buddy, thanks so much for jumping on, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. You know, it's I got to get over this heartbreak from Sunday.
Oh,
and
we're gonna get into it.
You got to this. Believe it or not, this is therapy. It'll help me move on.
There you go. You know what? When we do our post-game shows after we lost I say we as though I'm on the Eagles team, but after us fans had to watch that loss to the Giants, the loss to the Broncos as well, it's therapeutic getting in front of these microphones here and talking about this. So, I mean, let's get into the therapy stuff here for you, Ed. I mean, you talked about it. The Giants game last week against the Broncos, probably the biggest heartbreaker of a regular season game I think any fan base has probably had to go through. I mean, Giants fans, they've had a lot of hope over the past few weeks because of Jackson Dart and his ability to revitalize things offensively. But, I mean, I'm wondering, as we're moving into Week 8 here, what do you think that loss against the Broncos did to this Giants team as they look towards the Philadelphia Eagles this week and some other upcoming games as well? What are your thoughts here?
Well, first, I have to say this. When you look at this epic collapse by the Giants, all right, if you're going to collapse, all right, you might as well collapse in historic, epic, forever memorable fashion.
Yes.
And when 1,602 straight teams have managed to protect an 18-point lead with less than 6 minutes to go,
yeah,
and you fail to do that, you have certainly done something in spectacular fashion.
Yes.
And so, and for me, since your viewership, your listenership is intimately familiar with some of these games, this is right up there with the fumble.
Yes.
It's right up there with the punter who shall not be named kicking to
Deshaun Jackson,
to the kick returner who shall not be named.
Yes.
And the 2002 Trey Junkin playoff game.
Oh, yes.
So it's right. It's right up there with all of those. And now to your question, how do I think this is going to impact the Giants? I don't think that you can have something like this happen and not have some sort of a hangover.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that, especially defensively, okay, you can't have some sort of a hangover where, you know, even if things are going well, you start to wonder when it's going to fall apart.
Right.
You know, the shame of it is, you count the Eagles game, you look at the Broncos game, that defense, which is a tremendously talented group, had just put together 5 consecutive scoreless quarters.
Yeah.
And then they gave up 33 points. And I took the time on Tuesday afternoon to go through, starting with, I think, 2 minutes and 41 seconds left in the third quarter, every defensive play.
Yeah.
And forget all the yelling at defensive coordinator Shane Bowen about rush 3 and drop 8. I can probably count between missed tackles, missed assignments, defensive penalties, plays that should have been made that weren't made. I can probably count at least 20 defensive mistakes in the last 17 minutes of that game, or 20 opportunities where the defense either helped the Broncos or, you know, had opportunities to salt the game away and didn't do it. Yeah. And it's just, so I don't want to hear about this is Shane Bowen's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he made a call that still makes a lot of people shake their heads, but the defensive players put him in position to make that call.
Right, right, absolutely. Look, might there be a hangover with the Giants, like you were saying, heading into this Week 8 matchup against the Eagles? Possibly, but, I think, in the games that I've seen with the New York Giants, I've certainly seen some strength. I've certainly seen some weaknesses as well. So let's get into those on our
Yep.
episode report
Sure.
here every week. When we're doing our preview show, we like to get into this two-part question. So let's start with the biggest strength. What is the biggest strength of the New York Giants as we're almost here at the midway point of this season? What is that biggest strength?
Well, it's interesting because had you asked me that question 2 weeks ago when you had, Big Blue Views Chris Flum on your
Yeah,
show, had you asked me that question 2 weeks ago, I would have given you a different answer than I'm about to give you. I would have said the biggest strength of this football team is Dexter Lawrence and the edge defender trio of Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Abdul Carter.
defensive line,
And
absolutely.
and
Yep.
I still think that you could answer the question that way. But as I look at what's happening with this team and what's developing with this team, you know what I think the biggest strength of this team actually is?
It was a Jackson Dart.
It's the and it's not the talent of Jackson Dart. It's the resolve,
Yeah.
the toughness, the energy, the attitude, the I don't give a crap what the situation is, and I don't give a crap who's in front of me attitude of both Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. It's
Yep.
that energy, because that energy, more than anything else, despite what happened on Sunday afternoon, it's that energy that is changing this football team.
It's been
So
infectious in
I
so many
think
ways.
so
Yeah.
for me, that's the engine that starts all of it. And it's not going to be perfect because Jackson Dart's a rookie quarterback and
Right.
he's going to do stupid things like throw interceptions with 2 minutes left in a game that the Giants fans are still arguing about whether or not the Giants should have thrown a pass there.
Right.
And you know what I say to that? I've said for years, going all the way back to when Kevin Gilbride was the offensive coordinator and people used to moan and groan and complain about Kevin Gilbride and all of this. You know what a good play call is?
Hmm.
A good play call is one that works.
Exactly. There you go.
A bad play call is one that doesn't.
Right.
And what I will say about that pass by Jackson Dart is Theo Johnson was wide open. Jackson
Yep.
Dart just didn't get the ball there.
Right.
So, a good play call is one that works and a bad play call is one that doesn't. And
Yes.
you can argue about that as much as you want, but that's
Right.
what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side of the coin, what is the biggest weakness of this New York Giants team as we're heading into Week 8 here?
Well, again, at one point, the Giants fans always talk about the offensive line.
Right.
But I don't think that's the case anymore with Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas has single-handedly taken an offensive line that was without him last year and the first couple games of this year, an offensive line that was a question mark and turned it into a strength.
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas coming off Lisfranc surgery that had all of us questioning what we were going to get, what we were going to see. Andrew Thomas is playing as well or better than he ever has. Andrew Thomas was one-on-one with Nick Benito of the Broncos this past week, and it was a matchup that I was not necessarily frothing at the mouth to watch,
Right.
but I was excited to watch, okay?
Right.
Nick Benito with 8 sacks entering the game, the best pressure rate in the league of any edge defender. The Broncos got so frustrated because Nick Benito couldn't get around Andrew Thomas that they just put him over on the other side. Nick Benito couldn't get anywhere near Jackson Dart, so they just moved Benito to the other side.
Right.
So I think right now the biggest weakness of this football team, to get back to the original question, I don't love to be long-winded or anything. So the biggest weakness of this football team right now is the defensive secondary, especially with Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland right now questionable with a knee injury, and even Brian Burns has a foot injury, and we don't know where that's going to lead at this point. But I would say it's the defensive secondary, and overall, it would have to be the fact that as talented as this defense is overall, it has only shown flashes of playing the way that it should, the way that it can. And I just don't know. They can say what they want, but after Sunday and after blowing a game in very similar fashion in week 2 against the Dallas Cowboys, when they again played a drop 8 rush 3 defense that allowed Dallas to kick a game-tying field goal at the end of regulation.
Yep.
The players can say what they want, but I don't know if they can completely trust or will completely buy into what they're getting from Shane Bowen. I just don't know. And that's so for me, it's, on paper, it's the secondary, but mentally are these guys checked in and all in with the defensive coordinator?
Yeah, and we're definitely going to get into the Giants secondary in a bit, because the Philadelphia Eagles wide receivers had quite a week this past week against the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to get to them in a bit. First, we're going to take a very quick break, and when we get back, we're going to get into that subject matter and a lot more with regard to this Week 8 matchup, Philadelphia Eagles against New York Giants. We're going to take that break now. Stick with us. We'll be back in a bit. All right, we are back with our good friend Ed Valentine from BigBlueView.com. I believe it's at Ed Valentine over on Twitter/X, if I'm not correct. Am I correct there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And mostly, you know what? Mostly though, I mostly just use the at Big Blue View account over on
Okay.
X.
Sounds good. At Big Blue View, folks.
Yep. That's the best place to find me. There is a personal account out there somewhere, but you're sort of sending that out into the wilderness to never be found if you try to find me there.
All right. Sounds good. That's very fair. Very fair. All right. Well, let's keep diving into this pregame preview show here. Because look, the reality of this Week 8 matchup, we have to be reflective of the fact that the Giants beat the Eagles already this year, and they beat them good. Again, just a couple weeks ago, they scored touchdowns on both their opening possessions and really controlled the trenches. That's what the New York Giants needed to do to beat the Philadelphia Eagles 2 weeks ago, and they absolutely did it. The Eagles defense only got 3 quarterback hits on Jackson Dart during that game. And on the flip side, the Eagles offensive line, they struggled in the rushing game, which has been an ongoing theme for this Eagles offense. Game after game after game, the offensive line is just not syncing up with each other. There are injuries. The depth is just not there. We'll certainly get into it more. But Ed, what did you see in that first game that gives you some hope that the Giants can really rebound from the loss against the Broncos?
Well, again, I think I talked a little bit about the offensive line earlier, and I think that the fact that for years there have been so many questions about the Giants offensive line and the defensive line as well, and just the Giants' ability to hold up at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And first and foremost, I think that's real. I think what they're doing on both lines in holding up in the trenches is real.
Okay.
Do they still need more help there? Greg Van Roten is a 35-year-old, more or less placeholder at right guard, but he's not hurting them. And they could use more talent on the defensive line, but they have enough. They have,
right.
They could use another real impact player,
another rotational piece. Yeah.
But they're doing well on the lines. They're holding up there. And I look at it and I think the other part of this is the thing that gives me hope is, look, the Giants dropped 34 points on the Eagles.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are defending Super Bowl champions, and maybe they're not firing on all cylinders. Maybe they have a couple of weaknesses that didn't show up at times last year. But the Giants backed that up by dropping 5 touchdowns on the Broncos, which is the first or second ranked defense in the league.
Right.
So what gives me hope in that sense is even without Malik Neighbors, this team is finding ways to move the football and finding ways to score points, you know, without their best player.
Right.
And
Right.
a lot of that comes from Jackson Dart's ability to move in the pocket, to make what some people call loose plays. There was a pass he threw to Wan'Dale Robinson in the Denver game where I was watching that play and I thought, okay, if Daniel Jones was the quarterback, Daniel Jones can move in the pocket like that.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones can get out of the pocket if he chooses to run, and make some yardage with his legs. But what Daniel Jones could never do is throw a dime just a couple of inches over a defensive back, to a wide receiver for a 25 or 30-yard gain.
Yeah.
Make that sort of improvisational play. So what gives me hope is just these, like I said, these back-to-back performances, by an offense that tell me that there's progress being made there.
Yeah. They are growing. That's how as an objective viewer from the outside, I view the New York Giants offense as an offense that is growing for sure, Ed. And, as we're moving along, the Giants, they had 119 yards rushing last week in Denver, again, against one of the better defenses in this league. But the Denver defense did a good job of bottling up the Giants, running backs in general on a number of rushing plays as well. We're talking about Jackson Dart, how he is continuing to grow. However, he did complete less than 50% of the passes that he threw. So I'm wondering, going into the matchup in Philly, how will the Giants really try to balance out the rushing attack and the passing attack? What are your thoughts here?
Well, all of the praise we're heaping on Jackson Dart is deserved. He has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been everything that the Giants could have wanted. And when you look, when the rest of the NFC East has to look at the Giants and say, they're 2-5, but they have a quarterback now that they can build around. They're a team that I don't know what's going to happen the rest of this year, but they're a team that's coming.
Yeah.
But Jackson Dart's still a guy that started 4 NFL games. Okay. You cannot, if you're the New York Giants, go out there and say, we don't need the running game this week.
Right.
We're just going to let Dart throw the ball 45 times, 50 times,
Yeah.
So they have to have some sort of balance. Beyond Wan'Dale Robinson, who he's 5'8", he's 185 pounds. He's got the shortest arms of any wide receiver in the league. Okay. And I'm blown away by what he's doing this year. They've always told us he could be an explosive playmaker. They've always told us he could get yards after catch.
Right.
The Giants have always told us he could get down the field and catch the ball. But this is his 4th year in the league, and it's the first time we've seen it. So, but beyond Wan'Dale Robinson, they don't have a trustworthy wide receiver unless Darius Slayton comes back from his injury, and I don't know whether he's going to be back or not. They're scheming to get the ball to tight ends. They're using a lot of play action. They're using a lot of misdirection. They're getting the ball to the running backs out of the backfield. They're doing a lot of creative things to create passing attack, to create passing opportunities. They can't do what the Eagles can do, which is just say, hey, Devontae, just go win. Or, hey, AJ Brown, just go win.
Right.
And the Giants can't do that. Even with Wan'Dale, they can't do that because of his physical limitations.
Yeah.
But they have to have run game. And Cam Scatterbu is fantastic, but he's not going to give you explosive 35 or 40 yards at a crack run game. He's going to give you churn out the first downs, get people juiced up by turning 5 yards into 9, by putting his head down and running somebody over. Tyrone Tracy might give you that, he had the 31-yard touchdown run on Sunday, but as I said to one of the guys on my staff, I watched Andrew Thomas basically cave in the entire left side of the Denver defense, and I thought I could have scored that touchdown.
Right.
And I'm 65 years old.
Yes.
Okay. So I thought I could have scored that touchdown, but they need to have some sort of balance. They need to have that run game because it's like I said, it's a rookie quarterback. You just don't want to put him in that situation.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Again, folks, we're talking to Ed Valentine from bigblueview.com. Going to take a quick break. When we get back, got more, and we'll be concluding our discussion. Stick with us. All right, we're back with our good friend Ed Valentine from bigblueview.com. Great SB Nation site. Him and the staff over there. Fantastic content always if you want to head over and check out some New York Giants content. So we're moving along, and we conclude our discussion here after this last break. The Eagles receivers were finally able to shine this past week. All of us at Eagles Nation, we have been waiting for this. When you have a talent like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, you're saying, my goodness, what has been happening? They were finally able to shine. Them and Jalen Hurts on the same page. A.J. Brown, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 183 yards and a touchdown. I'm wondering, Ed, how do you see the Giants' defense and their secondaries we were talking about earlier really stacking up against the Eagles' receiving core this week, since they really seem to be getting some things into sync together? What are your thoughts here?
My thoughts are the Giants better blitz a lot and they better get home. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Look, if you're the Eagles, you look around that secondary. Paulson Adebo's hurt. He's their best corner, and he's been okay so far this year. But one of the big reasons they brought Paulson Adebo over from New Orleans in free agency is because he was becoming a turnover machine. He had, I think, 7 interceptions in 22 games.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that always had his hands on the ball the last couple of years in New Orleans. And that guy hasn't shown up. Okay. He's been okay in coverage, but that guy making a difference by making plays on the ball hasn't shown up. And I don't know at this point if he's going to play this week.
Right.
So what I would say, look, if you're Philadelphia and you're going to pass the ball, you find number 28, who's Cordell Flott. And I never in a million years thought I would be about to say this. You find number 28 and you throw the ball anywhere else.
Right.
All right. Drew Phillips, who I love the kid, had a really good rookie year. Drew Phillips, the slot corner, has been targeted as much or more than any cornerback in the league. And there's a reason. All right. There's a reason, because when you throw the ball to the guy he's covering catches it. Or if he doesn't catch it, the little yellow hanky hits the ground.
Gotcha.
Because I think Drew Phillips also leads defensive backs in penalties too.
Does he? Okay.
All right. And Deonte Banks, look, first round pick, out of Maryland, good, all of that, all the talent in the world, all the physical ability in the world, except what I will tell you is even when receivers look covered by Deonte Banks, they're open.
Yeah.
For this simple reason. There's a thing called a football that's coming in the air. Deonte Banks has no idea how to find it.
Yeah.
Okay. He has no idea how to find it or no idea how to react to it, except to hit the guy who just caught it.
There you go.
Even if it happened to go right over his head.
Right.
Which it does quite often. So if Deonte Banks and the Broncos, as soon as Paulson Adebo got hurt the other day, the Broncos saw number 2 on the field, which is the number that Banks wears now. And the ball just started going in that direction again and again and again and again. So what I'm going to tell you is just find 28 and throw the ball somewhere else.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith could have another good week here, perhaps. So, Ed, before I let you go, we love ending our show here on our Opposition Territory podcast with these two questions, and it's the one thing that each team is going to need to hit on for a win. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Let's start with the Giants. What is the one thing the New York Giants are going to need to hit on for a win this week against the Philadelphia Eagles?
Honestly, it's got to be their pass rush. They have got to, because we just talked about the secondary, okay? And I don't know what's going on with the Eagles run game, and every Giants fan fears Saquon Barkley waking up Sunday and remembering that he's Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
But the Giants pass rush has got to make a difference, because that secondary gets exposed over and over and over. And it's not going to get better if Paulson Adebo can't play. So I would say the Giants, they're certainly not going to surprise the Eagles. They're not going to catch the Eagles thinking, and I don't know if they did 2 weeks ago, oh, it's the Giants, we're going to win the game. They'll screw it up somehow, because they always screw it up somehow. But the Giants, the Eagles, what I want to say is the Giants have the Eagles' attention.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So they're going to have, that pass rush is going to have to be a big difference maker.
All right. Flip the coin. What's the one thing the Eagles are going to need to hit on for a win against the New York Giants this week?
Well, I think it goes to the same thing we just talked about. If you can protect Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
You can protect Jalen Hurts.
It's going to be a tall task.
But if you can give Jalen Hurts a chance to get the ball out to AJ Brown, to Devontae Smith, to the tight ends, to Saquon, and in space, the Giants have yet to really prove that they can cover anybody except for number 28. Just don't go there. Just don't go there, and you're good.
Sounds good, folks. He is Ed Valentine from BigBlueView.com. I'm looking forward to jumping on your podcast, Valentine's Views. And, folks, you can find that great podcast over on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, you can like and subscribe to us. We greatly appreciate that here. You can like and subscribe to the show. Let me get that banner off there for those who are watching. And we are also on the social medias too. Search out the Philadelphia Sports Table, whether you are on Instagram, Twitter /X. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. We're on Facebook Threads. Eric and I are both over at Blue Sky as well. We are gonna head out here. Ed, man, it was great talking to you. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm looking forward to being on your podcast as well as we continue the discussion about this upcoming Eagles and Giants game. Again, my friend, thank you so much. I'm hoping we can talk another time down the road.
All right, thanks for having me, and I'll be looking forward to our discussion, which is going to start here shortly.